It has been more than 16 years since a civilian working for the Navy was charged with passing secrets to Israel. Jonathan Pollard pled guilty to conspiracy to commit espionage and is serving a life sentence. At first, Israeli leaders claimed Pollard was part of a rogue operation, but later took responsibility for his work. Now, Fox News has learned some U.S. investigators believe that there are Israelis again very much engaged in spying in and on the U.S., who may have known things they didn't tell us before September 11th. Fox News correspondent Carl Cameron has details in the first of a four-part series.
Since September 11th, more than 60 Israelis have been arrested or detained, either under the new Patriot anti-terrorism law or for immigration violations. A handful of active Israeli military were among those detained, according to investigators, who say some of the detainees also failed polygraph questions when asked about alleged surveillance activities against and in the United States. There is no indication that the Israelis were involved in the 9/11 attacks, but investigators suspect that the Israelis may have gathered intelligence about the attacks in advance and not shared it. A highly placed investigator said there are, quote, tie-ins, but when asked for details, he flatly refused to describe them, saying, quote, evidence linking these Israelis to 9/11 is classified. I cannot tell you about evidence that has been gathered. It's classified information.
So a new tape has just come out, and it's from 2001, but it's very interesting because it goes to Prime Minister Netanyahu's intentions. He was speaking to a group of terror victims, and he was talking about how you can get America to do what you want if you're the state of Israel, and how you can thwart the peace process. Let me give you exact quotes. Here's what he told them. He said, I know what America is. America is a thing you can move very easily. Move it in the right direction. They won't get in their way.
שהמחיר יהיה כבד למצוא, כרגע המחיר לא כבד למצוא, זו התקפה רבת היקף על הרשות הפלסטינית. זה לפחד שהכל מתמוטט.
ואז, רגע, אבל אז השוק העולם יגיד מה, אתם כובשים? אתה לא מפחד מהעולם, ביבי.
במיוחד היום עם אמריקה, אני יודע מה זה אמריקה. אמריקה זה דבר שאפשר להזיז אותו בקלות, להזיז לכיוון הנכון.
הם אומרים שהם בעדינו, אבל כאילו...
לא יפניעו לו.
אז שאם אנחנו עושים איזה משהו, אז הם...
יש שווה, אז נניח שהם אומרים משהו. אז אמרו, 80% מהאמריקאים תומכים בה. זה אבסורד, יש לנו שם תמיכה כזאת, ואנחנו אומרים מה נעשה עם הממשל הוא היה פרו-פלסטיני בצורה קיצונית. לא פחדתי להתעמת שם. לא פחדתי להתעמת עם קלינטון. לא פחדתי להתעמת עם הרוב. בלעם הכי את המחיר הבינלאומי אני משלם. אז עדיף לקבל תמורה. תמורה להגנה.
Value, huh? So where do you think Netanyahu and the state of Israel would get so much value in ensuring that America and the American Congress and the American Senate and the American President did exactly as Israel and Netanyahu or Ehud Barak wanted? It would come from someone having a lot of information on pedos. So imagine all these dual American Israeli Jews. Imagine Chabad Lubavitch. Imagine Sheldon Adelson. Imagine Netanyahu, Uncle Bibi with Jared Kushner, a Chabad Lubavitch. Imagine all these traitors in Congress and Senate. And you don't think they're traitors? When they give Netanyahu immense rounds of applause when he stands in front of them and talks his shit.
I have the high privilege and distinct honor of presenting to you the Prime Minister of Israel, His Excellency Benjamin Netanyahu.
I want to thank you, Democrats and Republicans, for your common support for Israel, year after year, decade after decade. No matter on which side of the aisle you sit, you stand with Israel. and I will always be grateful to President Obama for that support. This Capitol dome helped build our Iron Dome. We must all stand together to stop Iran's march of conquest, subjugation, and terror. So when it comes to Iran and ISIS, the enemy of your enemy is your enemy. And let Iran get nuclear weapons would be to win the battle but lose the war. We can't let that happen. We can insist that restrictions on Iran's nuclear program not be lifted for as long as Iran continues its aggression in the region and in the world. The world should demand that Iran do three things. First, stop its aggression against its neighbors in the Middle East. Second, my country, Israel, the one and only Jewish state. If Iran wants to be treated like a normal country, let it act like a normal country. It's a very bad deal. We're better off without it. The alternative to this bad deal is a much better deal. To know that the difficult path is usually the one less traveled, but it will make all the difference for the future of my country, the security of the Middle East, and the peace of the world, the peace we all desire. The days when the Jewish people remained passive in the face of genocidal enemies, those days are over. Even if Israel has to stand alone, Israel will stand. I know that America stands with Israel. I know that you stand with Israel. God bless the United States of America.
How naive is the American public? Pathetic evangelical Christian Zionists who actually have swallowed the America will be cursed if it doesn't support the Jews. Absolutely pathetic. No wonder they have movies such as Dumb and Dumber. What a sad, easily led, and because of that, exceptionally dangerous group of people. 350 million of them. When you have easily steered stupidity at that level, you can cause mayhem, and they do. So back to Epstein. In fact, no. Let's look at Harvey Weinstein for a moment, and then Edward Snowden.
Just a few weeks before he was outed as a rapist and sexual predator, the film producer Harvey Weinstein was asked about his affinity for Israel.
Does Israel advocacy play any role in your life, in supporting it at all?
I'm an Israeli in my heart and mind, okay? I love that country. I love what it stands for. I'm proud to be Jewish.
Well, it turns out Weinstein has a closer Israeli connection than he let on. A recent piece in The New Yorker revealed that as part of his campaign to cover up for his crimes and abuses, Weinstein hired a private Israeli intelligence firm called Black Cube to spy on his accusers. A female Black Cube operative posed as a women's rights advocate to meet with Weinstein victim Rose McGowan. The same operative also posed as one of Weinstein's accusers to get a meeting with a journalist who was reporting a story on the allegations. Why Harvey Weinstein turned to Israel's intelligence services to suppress his sex abuse accusers. Max, welcome. Let's talk about just the title of your piece. Why did Harvey Weinstein turn to Israel's intelligence services, in this case, this firm, Black Cube?
Well, I think the first reason that Weinstein turned to the Israeli firm Black Cube, which is comprised of former Mossad leadership and operatives and Israeli army former officers, is his connection to the pro-Israel lobby in the U.S. I mean, those comments that you played at the top of the broadcast was from an interview that Harvey Weinstein conducted at the Allgemeiner annual gala, where he was given an award on stage with, Holocaust patron saint, the late Elie Wiesel, who's also actually been accused of sexual assault in recent days. The Allgemeiner is a pro-Israel group that's closely connected to another right-wing pro-Israel group, the Simon Wiesenthal Center. It appears to be funded by Sheldon Adelson, the pro-Israel billionaire. And, it runs an online publication that routinely demonizes advocates of Palestinian human rights like myself as anti-Semites. Harvey Weinstein has donated at least $100,000 to the Simon Wiesenthal Center, and he's been honored there as well. So he turned, he's obviously, been connected not only to the pro-Israel lobby, but to Israeli leadership as well through this network. It was Ehud Barak, the former Israeli prime minister, defense minister, and accused war criminal, who connected Weinstein to Black Cube. And so you have to sell your techniques. And so you set up an intelligence firm and you start selling your techniques to wealthy businessmen and individuals who are involved in illicit and sordid activities. And that's a very good business. Israel is one of the leading exporters of methods of repression. It's why it's training police forces across the United States as they militarize against their own, against communities that they regard as dangerous in sacrifice zones across the country. So that's really what this case reflects to me, along with kind of the normalization of rape culture in Israel and in the Israeli military, where according to a 2003 Knesset survey, 1 out of 3 women in the Israeli military reported being sexually abused.
Max, correct me if you think that this is kind of a stretch, but to me, this case also underscores just why solidarity with people around the world is important, and it's actually linked to our own lives, because here you have a case where the same techniques that were used to oppress Palestinians helped hone the techniques, and so, as you described, that were used against people like Harvey Weinstein's victims. So in the sense that repression elsewhere can be very much connected to abuses here in ways that we don't normally think of.
Yeah, I don't think I could put it any better than that. And I think that's something that, everyone who has followed this case needs to recognize, is that, victims abroad, particularly occupied Palestinians, are preyed on by people who can be weaponized by predators at home. And that's what happened in this case.
Identification. I've got no paper show you what I am. You'll have to take me just the way that you find me. What's gone is gone and I do not give a damn.